Welcome to our Chief Science Officer's Advisor Training Overview. I'm excited to spend the next 30 minutes with you as we look at the development of our CSO program, the purpose of our program, and a few tips on how you can help make your students successful this year as an advisor. Let me introduce you to our international team. This is Dr. Jeremy Babinger. He is the Executive Director of Chief Science Officers and the one responsible for the development of our program. Next we have Kelly. Kelly's our Director of Student Success, and you may have seen Kelly at a training someplace or an LTI. We have Jake. He's our Director of Global Partnerships. He's the one that makes those connections with countries from around the world. You may have received an email from Casey, our Enrollment Coordinator, pertaining to your site intent. She tracks those that are involved in our program. We have Hope. She's been working on developing curriculum and training for our students as we help develop them into STEM leaders for the future and build their confidence and help give them a voice. And my name is Tammy, and I'm excited to be a part of your advisor training. I started my connection with CSO as a parent several years ago when my son became involved in the program. As a parent, I saw him develop as a young man, build confidence, develop in his communication skills, and as a leader. And I was very excited about what this was doing for him. I then became an advisor, which I did for several years, and now I'm excited to be a part of your journey as you help make your students successful as CSOs in their school and in their community. We're going to move into our agenda for today. We're going to hear some videos from Dr. Babinger. He's going to be talking about development of the program. You're going to hear Kelly and her passion for the program and the overview and the goals. You're also going to hear from some students, and then I'm going to be wrapping up our training with some just tips and expectations to help make you successful, just some basic ideas for you. So first, let's hear from Dr. Jeremy Babinger as he shares his dream and the development of the program and where he sees it going.
The vision and motivation for this program was simple: to give students a voice. What was really interesting was often we would have conversations connecting with the community. People were super excited about what we would do for kids and programs to really empower those kids. And it was so interesting how students were never part of that conversation. I wanted to see a way that we could change that. How do we get these students that are excited and motivated about what they're doing to really be at the table? And that was the whole vision behind creating Chief Science Officers. So why is student voice so important? It's plain and simple. If we're really going to create opportunities for the future, we need the future to happen now. We need students to be at the table, and they really need to be contributing to those conversations and really getting a feel of what it takes to really make things happen in their world. In the near future, I'm so excited about how the different regions are really getting a hold of what to do and how the team is really starting to make systems and processes more effective. I'm excited about how we're able to collect the action plans, quarterly reports, and really help to get the information to the regional advisors and cabinet leads about what's happening in their areas. I'm excited about how the different regions and students are starting to understand the possibilities of where it can go and what they can really do to make things happen in their communities, throughout their states, and throughout the nation. So my dream for the CSO International is really to see continued growth so that CSOs is not something unique to 4 countries, but it's something that happens in almost every country across the planet. That schools across the world have the opportunity to have student voice and to really give these students an opportunity to connect with their peers, not just in their local regions, but across the planet, and to really have them work on meaningful issues that are going to really impact their future. And most exciting, maybe 5, 10, 20 years down the road, where these chief science officers are now in prominent positions and have connected and said, hey, you were a fellow CSO and we worked on this project, and they're able to really address unique and important topics in the future because of this experience that they had today.
So as you can hear Dr. Babinger's passion for the program, it's grown in just a few short years from just a handful of students to hundreds around the world, and we're excited to see that continuing to grow throughout our planet. Here's Ms. Kelly Green, our Director of Student Success, and she's going to share with you the program goals.
Hello, my name is Kelly, the Director of Student Success for the CSO International Program. Today I want to highlight the 4 program goals. The first one is to create a global network of diverse STEM leaders. Now, by diversity, we don't only mean ethnicity, race, gender. We also really help the students focus on diversity of thinking. The second goal is to foster communication and collaboration among CSOs. As we have developed and grown internationally, we really want the students to stay connected through the use of the G Suite tools. We have a private domain, so the students have an access login that allows them to communicate safely and collaborate using Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Slides. The nice part about the CSO program is that we also provide advisors a login access and the regional leads and program staff, so the students can communicate and collaborate with everybody in the CSO network. The next goal is to enrich STEM culture and career awareness. We would like students to be aware of the opportunities that are ahead in their future, but we also want them to enrich their STEM culture, not only at their schools, but in their communities, by sharing what opportunities, maybe internships, apprenticeships, tours of local businesses, connections, discussions happening in the community based on STEM. Not only does this mean making sure everybody understands that science, technology, engineering, and math are what the labels are for the acronym, but also providing opportunities for them to engage in STEM, which this goal includes their action plan. They must do something, whether it's little or big, to help promote STEM culture and career awareness. Finally, my favorite is to amplify student voice in STEM conversations in the community. We don't want them just to get to the table or get to the event. We actually want them to be actively engaged, share their opinions, ask questions. Sometimes, as advisors, you really need to prep them and tell them that it'll be okay, do their best. Encourage them to have specific nuggets of information that they would like to ask so that they feel more prepared, and help them amplify their student voice. They really do have incredible things to say. So what does that mean for advisors? You are so important. You are one of the largest champions that a CSO will engage with during the year. We promote you meeting with them at least 2 times a month for a 30-minute time period. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to meet with them the entire 30 minutes. Maybe you just go over the agenda, share what's working, share what's not, give them a little bit of cheerleading, congratulations, keep going, and then allow them to have 30 minutes to work on something with their CSO action plan or engaging with the network. So what does this mean as your role? You're the cheerleader. You get to coach them, you get to encourage, you get to be a mentor. We do not want you to do the action plan. We want you to support them, set up meetings, help them have a productive conversation, provide script analysis, maybe even review their slides, right? Making it more professional. The goal is for the CSO advisor to truly enjoy the opportunity to work with CSOs. As you can see here, these are just a few snaps of our CSO advisors hard at work, from traveling with their CSOs to national conferences, to celebrating at the end of a leadership training institute or at the end of the year award ceremony. Also attending events and sitting with other CSO advisors and brainstorming. What could I do if? How do I support my CSO when? And of course, connecting. The CSOs are able to connect with you and other advisors when maybe they all want to do starting a STEM club, but they don't know how to organize. And maybe you've done it, and this is your 3rd year in the program. Why not mentor another CSO advisor or group of CSOs who's been there, done that? So we really encourage you to connect not only as adults, but connect with the other students who've been very successful. They're willing to support you just as much as you are willing to support them. So I really want to just give you a huge shout out and say thank you so much for taking on the role of CSO advisors. The CSO International Program would not be where we are today without the support of the adults serving as advisors. We know many of you do this without compensation, and as a former teacher myself, I appreciate the time spent encouraging and empowering our Chief Science Officers. If you have any questions, you can reach me at kelly@chiefscienceofficers.org. Thank you so much.
Well, you can hear Kelly's passion for the program, and she also touched on a few advisor tips that we will be expounding on, including the G Suite and how you can access your information. I also wanted you to hear from a couple of students. I want you to hear them talk about the value of an advisor and how you can help make them successful and be their support.
I enjoy doing outreach programs and helping inspire a curiosity for STEM in other youth. Being a CSO has developed me not only as a leader, but as a person. It has helped me find my voice. I've been able to become confident in my decisions as a person. An advisor can be a CSO's most crucial tool, but an advisor could also be a limiter on the CSO's progress if they do not meet often enough, and the CSO will be negatively impacted from that. If I didn't have an advisor, I wouldn't have a way to directly contact people I need to contact, like my principal. Now that I'm in high school, it's a bit easier, but for middle schoolers, it is especially important that they have a good, strong relationship with their advisor, and they're always in contact and knowing what needs to be said or done for their action plans to be complete. I hope these answers were useful to you and help you become a great advisor for your amazing CSO.
Next we have Valentina.
What I enjoy about being a CSO is being able to combine my passion for STEM with my desire to impact my community. Not only this, but it's allowed me to grow in my leadership and to elevate the student voice for my peers. Along the way as a CSO, I've been able to meet many new and amazing people, and I hope to continue my journey as a STEM ambassador. Being a CSO has developed my communication and collaboration skills, enabling me to work more effectively in a group. It has also opened up my eyes to how much of a profound impact us students can have in not only our schools, but also in our states, and even globally. Unfortunately, this year I did not have a CSO advisor, so some of the challenges that I faced were the implementation of action plans on my school site, and also just reaching out to my principal.
So both of those young ladies are very sharp and articulate, but you heard both of them talk about the need and the value of an advisor. Kyra mentioned just the connection between the leadership and administration at her school, and Valentina mentioned just being that support and helping them with where they need to be going. So I also wanted you to hear from Marianne. She's an advisor. She's been an advisor for a while. I want you to hear what she loves about being an advisor.
Hi everyone, I'm Marianne Colley from Sonoran Foothill School. This fall will be my 5th year as a CSO advisor. What I enjoy most about being a CSO advisor is that I get to be part of the kids' journey in advocating for STEM education. I have been a witness through their failures and successes working through their action plans, and just seeing the kids grow in the program, leading their peers, and their interest in pursuing a STEM career in the future makes me really grateful for the CSO program. Building a good relationship with my CSOs has always been my #1 priority as their advisor. They know that they could always share their ideas and plans with me without any hesitation. I give them guidance by reviewing their action plans and give them constant feedback after an activity has been implemented, and the kids really value those feedbacks.
And you heard Marianne's excitement there, just watching the students develop as leaders. And in order to do that, she has to let them be successful or let them fail. So she gives them feedback, but she is not stepping in to do the work for them. So let me go over a few tips for you, just your responsibilities of advisors with your students. Kelly mentioned meeting times. We are asking that you meet twice a month for 30 minutes, whether that's virtually with your students or in person. And you heard both of those CSOs talk about the value of that time and just keeping you as an advisor abreast of what they're doing, help with their connections. My suggestion from experience is the closer you get to your action plan, you may have to look at meeting more frequently. Even again, if you're not directly hands-on, they may need as a team to continue to collaborate and work together more often to execute that action plan. Just a reminder to find a convenient time to meet with students. Try to make that something that's consistent every Wednesday at this time, or every Thursday at this time, or every other Monday. Make sure that that's consistent so that they have that as a regular calendared event so that they don't forget. And we'll be talking about how you can actually put that on a Google Calendar and invite them for that. If you can, try to avoid those big events after school. We know many of our students are involved in your CSO program, but also they could be leaders in other areas, STEM clubs, or part of other activities after school. Students need to make sure they have a device for all meetings. So if they're at school, please make sure they're able to access their CSO Google Classroom with their device. So if they're using a phone, make sure they have permission to do that on campus. And if they're using a device provided by the school, say a Chromebook, you need to make sure that your IT person has allowed them access outside the school domain. Just like CSO, as Kelly mentioned, we have a private domain for the safety of our students, so they can only communicate within the CSO domain. So your school probably has the same. In order for your students to be able to access that Google account for CSO, since it's outside the school domain, your IT person is going to have to give them permission or work around. Now, it's possible to do that, but you'll just need to communicate with them ahead of time. All right, speaking of Google Suite, Kelly mentioned these tools that you have available to you: Gmail, Calendar, Google Drive, Hangouts, and Classroom. Let me touch on briefly on each one of those. First, let's talk about your login to Google Classroom. We have set up accounts for all of you, but it is underneath your school name. So you'll see there, it says school name CSO at chiefscienceofficers.org. We do this instead of using your name as an advisor, just because we know that advisors do change, and we want to make sure that we keep that login and that account consistent for your school. So throughout G Suite, we're also going to ask for collaboration. We have an advisor classroom that we're going to ask you to join, where you're going to have updates and posts and just reminders pushed out to you that you need to communicate to your students. And there'll be other opportunities that pop up. That's where we post things that maybe your students could be involved in, or you could be involved in, with the SciTech Festival or other events going on with other corporate sponsors and mentors in the area. Electronic devices or documents, and PowerPoints. So we're going to be sharing things in the Google Drive that you are welcome to use and share out with your students. We want to share what we can to help make you successful. So first of all, if you're not familiar with Google, there is a little 9-dot grid or a little menu. When you open up Google Chrome, you're going to click that, and when you see that, you're going to see all of your tools pop up. Now, just a reminder that just as it is for students, it is for you. You have to make sure that you're in the correct browser tab. You may have to open up another one and log into your account outside of your school domain. So just like if you're using Gmail at school, the same thing would be here with their CSO. So you're going to compose your email and then type the subject, the body, and then send it. What I do want to remind you is that you, as a CSO advisor, have the ability to email outside the CSO domain to maybe corporate sponsors or to mentors or maybe to a STEM professional that's going to be coming to your school. Students can type up this email, but they must use your account to send it because, again, they don't have access outside that domain for protection and privacy purposes. But you, as the advisor, as the adult, you do have access outside of our domain. Google Drive, I mentioned, this is where things will be uploaded that you can access or that you might want to share with us as CSO International. Videos, photos, things that your students are involved in, that you're excited about, that you want to post and share with all of us, giving us access to share those. We may share Google Docs with you. Instead of giving you a paper copy of things, there may be something there that you might print out for students. This is also where they can create their slides and share them. And as they begin to work with their cabinet, this will be something that they're going to want to access as a student. I mentioned Google Calendar. If you're not familiar with that, it's pretty easy to use. You open up that from that 9-dot grid, click on Calendar, click on the date, type in the title, select the time. This is where where it says add guest, you can type in your students' email accounts or CSO emails, and then you can put any notes in there that you want to in the description and send that to them so they have it on their calendar if they're checking that and as a reminder. So Google Hangouts is something that you are going to probably want to truly access this year. Google Hangouts allows you to spend time with CSOs in our domain, whether that's through a video, a call, or just instant messaging. So if you'll see on the left-hand side when you open up your Gmail, the menu will pop up, or the threads, pop up on the left side. and you can see different conversations that are being had. This is a great place for you to start a chat with other advisors, maybe possibly in your cabinet, possibly in your region. It's also a place that you can have your CSO have chats. If you can't get together in person, this would be a good place to do. So you could have these as like meetings in the evening if you needed to chat with them. You can just send them an invite in Google Hangouts. The last thing I want to talk to you about is Google Classroom. So you, as I mentioned, as an advisor, will be into a CSO advisor classroom. Your students are also in a classroom, and that's where we will post most of our primary communication. And here you will also find assignments that are due. So please be sure that you're checking that. We're going to talk about how students need to check that every time you get together, twice a month. They need to be checking those classroom assignments. And you can also take a look at those assignments as well. All right, so when you do meet with your students, let's talk about kind of what things you need to cover. So as I mentioned just now, they should be checking their Google Classroom, their Gmail, Google Hangouts, anything that is communication, whether it's from you, other CSOs in their cabinet, in their region, or from us at CSO International. So please make sure that's the first thing I used to have my students do is I open up your devices, check all your communication threads, and let's see what we have to do for a classroom, what's due, what's an assignment that you need to be working on for CSO International. Check your Gmails, check your Hangouts. That should be the first thing they do at each meeting, and they can also do it outside of those meetings other times as long as they're into their accounts. Please allow your students to set the agenda. They are going to be choosing their action plan, not a plan that you want to give them, but something that they're passionate about. And as a team, they're going to collaborate together to execute and make happen. Kelly mentioned it can be very simple. In our next training session, Training 101, we'll be talking about action plans as we get closer to the students doing that. But please let them set the agenda. They're the ones running the meetings, but you may be in your mind as their coach, as their advisor, you know what needs to happen. You know who they need to talk to. You know what forms need to be filled out for your district. So as they go, please you be aware of what needs to be accomplished and help direct them to those things. They won't know all the nitty-gritty. They won't know those details. They'll have a passion and a vision for their action plan, and it's our responsibilities as advisors to help them execute that by kind of guiding them along the path. You may also want to help keep track of time so that they don't get off on a tangent, and keep moving them along by asking leading questions as they're planning. Oh, so you want to take students to this place as your action plan. Well, how are you going to do that? Will it cost money? Will we need to take a bus? Do you need to get approval? Do we have to have permission slips? All those kinds of things that you need to ask them. Let them make the decisions or direct them to people that can help give the answers. Don't solve it for them and don't answer their questions. We really want them to be developing as leaders. CSOs should be taking minutes and assign those roles. I would suggest this is where you could use that Google Drive. I would suggest that they keep a Google document where they're typing in everything that's happening and you're discussing in each meeting so that they can come back to that and know, okay, this is where I left off. That also gives them and their fellow CSOs, as well as you, access to it other times as well. You may want to take your own notes just so that you can remember what questions you're going to ask them at the next meeting so that you're aware of what needs to happen. And I used to keep a little notebook by my side as we were in our meetings, and my students would be typing up their things, and I would make a couple of little bullet points of things to ask them the next time, whether it's follow-up questions, the things that they were going to be working on, or things that I just knew that maybe they hadn't thought about and we needed to discuss that. I also feel like it's very beneficial that you do team building with your students, whether that's in person or it's virtually. I think them to getting to know each other, if we're going to truly have them work as a team and collaborate, they are going to need to get to know each other, their strengths, their weaknesses, and have fun together. There's nothing better than a team of people having a great time together and appreciating each other and laughing, so that when it comes down to the nitty-gritty or there's frustration, there's tension, they can remember that these people are on their team. We have a relationship, and so the frustration is a little easier to deal with. So team building is super important in my opinion. Just any other required meetings for CSOs, we wanted to give you straight out of the gate, up front, the things that are going to be expected. So your students are expected to attend an LTI. Now that may be in the summertime or in the fall. All levels may be offered virtually if necessary. So your students may be in person at these things or they may be virtual, but they do need to attend an LTI in order for them to be a CSO on your campus. This is where they get all their basic training and all of their expectations from our CSO international team and from our Student Leadership Council, helping them understand and train them to be a CSO. They also are expected to attend two cabinet meetings a year, one typically in the fall, one in the early spring. These are held collectively with other students from your cabinet. So that's typically your geographical location. And again, these could be held virtual or in person if possible. We also get excited about the end of the year when students have completed their action plan and they've been a part of the program, and we want to celebrate them through a graduation of their accomplishments. We've held it in a handful of different places. We even held it virtually online, maybe held at the Science Center here in Arizona if you are an Arizona CSO. They've been a great host for us, so we will see what is in store for the end of the year celebration this year. The other thing I want to remind you is that throughout the year, yourself and your CSOs are going to receive lots of opportunities with which you could be involved. So that could be SciTech Festival events that are helping. It could be coming alongside other cabinets and being a support. It could be coming alongside other schools, even within your cabinet, and supporting them. It might even be a bigger scale advocacy for certain groups or certain concepts. We've had students meet with the governor multiple times. We've had students meet with other city leaders. So just opportunities for your students and yourself to continue to advocate for STEM and to help those students develop their voice and their leadership. Wanted to let you know that your students will be responsible for a few surveys this year and then a few forms. This is how we track our data. It's very, very important that you help students make sure they've accomplished these things. So we have 3 surveys. This year, these will all be included within their training pieces. So there'll be registration. At registration, they'll do a pre-training survey. After the training, they'll do an after-training survey, and that will be done at LTI, those leadership training institutes I mentioned. And then there'll be an end-of-the-year survey. So all of those will be embedded in 2 times together. But there are 5 forms. There are the due dates for those forms. This is what we're talking about with their action plan. So by September, we would like to see an initial action plan form submitted in Google Classroom. And we will be talking with students on how to do that, how to make sure the form is completed and submitted, because there are a couple of steps with that process. In October, when they have their fall cabinet meeting, we're asking them to complete a meeting report form from that meeting. And typically they do that right at the end of that meeting. November, we're asking that they have their approved action plan. This means your administrator on your campus or the community members that you're working with has been approved and everything is set and ready to roll. In February, they're asked to attend a spring cabinet meeting where they'll fill out another report. And in March, their action plan should have been completed by this time, and they're going to fill out a reflection form as to how it went. I want to remind you that even if students are not able to execute exactly what they had in their mind, just the process, in my opinion, as a parent and as an advisor, the process that they're going through is developing them into leaders, helping them build confidence, find their voice, and just that part of the process has helped make them successful. But we want to give them a chance to reflect on how they see their action plan and how it went. We have 4 levels. This is what one of the things Hope has been working on developing along with Kelly. Just because a CSO has been in the program for multiple years does not mean that they will be at a higher level. So let me talk about that with you briefly. Level 1 is where all your CSOs will enter. You can see the basic bullet points there. There's some leadership training, as I mentioned, the LTI. They will have to have an action plan that impacts their school right there at their site. They will have to attend those cabinet meetings, and then there'll be online engagement, which I already mentioned, through the Google Classroom that they need to be checking and communicating, right? So if a student has done that successfully and they're looking for more opportunities in leadership, they can move to a level 2. So level 2, you're going to have the same basic things, leadership training. You'll notice that few of those are a little bit different. They will have an action plan. This is where we start to visually see the difference. Their action plan, not only should they have done one that impacted their school, but now level 2, their action plan will actually impact their whole community. So whether it's their community in which they live, or if it's their cabinet community, whatever it is, it's larger than just their school. Okay, so cabinet meetings, you'll see that they start to actually provide support and leadership for those level 1 students. Again, there's online engagement, and you can see that Google Hangouts and email support have been added to that, and then community engagement is an extra bullet point there. So say a student has done that and they've been very successful and they're still looking for more leadership, then they can move to a level 3. Now keep in mind, this does not have to be a 3rd-year student. Okay, your student could be in the program 3 years and still be at level 1, just executing action plans that affect their site. But if they are indeed making growth as a leader and they're enjoying it, then you're going to see some things start to change. So you'll see that the leadership training is beginning to change their action plan. They're going to have some other training with growth mindset, DISC assessment, that's personality, and then they're going to see that their action plan is actually impacting the cabinet, not just their community. So not their school, not just their community, their actual cabinet. So most places that I mentioned, that's a geographical area, and it's also with several other schools typically. They'll need to be a support during those cabinet meetings, so they'll help lead trainings, and then online engagement, and then the extra thing there is the advisory council. So they may be asked to be a part of an advisory council of some sort. So say they've done those things, and then they are looking for more leadership. You're going to see some changes in that leadership training for level 4. They're going to be assigned an actual mentor, typically a STEM professional, and they're going to be developing some other skills. And this is where their action plan would not just impact their cabinet, but their whole region. So again, it gets a little bit bigger. It moves, you can see it from their site, their community, to their cabinet, to now their region. It's an impact on their region. Again, that's going to usually be a collaborative project done with several other CSOs from their region. You can see again that their cabinet meetings, they're going to be providing support and engagement levels and do a lot of the teaching for those levels 1, 2, and 3. And then you can see also that they will have opportunity, again, at advisory councils, possibly be asked to be on STEM panels at different events, and even to be a keynote or help support a keynote at events that are STEM related. Hey, just a few quick tidbits for you about training for advisors. I want to be a support to you, which is why we've started this online training. So you'll see there that the August, the overview, was what we just went through. It's just setting the expectations so you kind of know the basics, where the program came from, as I mentioned, the development, the purpose of the program, and what your basic role is and responsibility. Now, I know a lot of us have done this job. Some of us have volunteered to do this. Some of us have been voluntold to do this. And so I want to remind you that we appreciate that. We know that many of you do it, as Kelly mentioned, without compensation. And sometimes we go into it blindly, not aware of what we're doing. So I want to be a support for you and help answer questions where I can, collaborate with you all, because I'm sure you all have great ideas, much better than what I could do for you on my own. So our overview expectations. In September, you'll see we're going to release a 101, coaching versus directing. How do you help coach them without taking charge and without being the director of the group or the leader? In October, we're going to release a 202. That's going to be more into action plan details and the expectations. Now remember, their approved action plan is not due till November, so this gives you a little bit of time to kind of internalize that and help be a support for them. In January, we'll be releasing 303, which will be all looking forward to the end of the year and into the following year. So we're talking about those reports I mentioned, elections, partnerships with businesses, and then that graduation event that I mentioned. Again, I just really want to be a support. I love the program. I love what it's done for students. But just as we're asking our kids to collaborate, I think it's important that we collaborate too and support each other. I'm going to be offering office hours by time zones on Mondays. So as we get the year rolling, please check your advisor classroom for that information. And I would love to have you join me at one of those Monday time slots as we talk about what's been successful, questions that we may have, bounce ideas off of each other, and just as a team really collaborate to help make our students successful. So there's by email. And I will be sending out messages periodically throughout that Google Classroom as well to you. So be checking for those once we get rolling here. I wanted to thank you for taking the time, giving me about half an hour of your time today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I want to be a support where I can to you to help make you successful and enjoy what you're doing so that you can just enjoy your time with your students and help support them. Again, thanks for your time. If you have any questions, please send them to me, Tammy at chiefscienceofficers.org. Thank you, and I look forward to talking to each of you.